Hey, what's up? I'm Rafael di Furia, aka Rafi D is me, and I am back at it again on another beautiful Friday night. Nothing is going to keep me from making a Friday night video. I'm gonna tell you that right now. As you might notice, this week's video is gonna look a little bit different. If you've been following me on Facebook, or if you've looked at the community tab here on YouTube, you know I've been having some computer issues, computer died, and so this week, coming to you from my phone. So that's why things look a little bit different and sound a little bit different as well. But dealing with this computer issue kind of led me into something else that is very normal here in Italy, dealing with bureaucracy and contracts. But we'll get into that in a second. But first, before we get into the rest of the video, if you would like to help make more content like this possible, you can go to rafaeldifuria.com/support. And a big thank you to those of you who are helping to make videos like this possible through Patreon. And again, sorry about having to do it through a phone this week. It's just, this is the situation and trying to make the best of it one way or the other. But again, going through this whole debacle with trying to replace my computer and figuring out a way when I'm really at a point where that's not financially so possible, or not so possible, not possible, I was looking into different options. I was looking into trying to get a loan, trying to get financing, using a credit card, but the system here in Italy works a little bit differently than it does back in the States. So the main focus of this video today is kind of more on contracts, because contracts are absolutely key, like work contracts, rental contracts. Contracts are king in this country. But when I was trying to apply for financing or for a loan this week so that I could try and get a new computer, the issue that I kept running into is because I don't work on a regular work contract, it was going to be impossible to get any kind of financing or anything. Unlike whereas in the US you have a credit score, and that's an indicator to credit card companies, banks, whatever, that you're able to pay a loan back or that you're reliable in some way, this type of rating doesn't exist in Italy. The closest thing that I've heard of that seems to be somewhat close to a credit rating is only if you've really made a big mistake and have defaulted and can't pay back anything, you might get yourself onto a blacklist. But that's just a list that says, no, nothing for that person, like no way. And it's difficult to get off that list. But I don't know so much about that, so we're not going to be talking about that specifically in this video. But this video is not necessarily so much what to do. It's more of a heads up, and let's kind of just talk about what's here, because we all know that in Italy, bureaucracy is a big thing. Unfortunately, this just happens to be the situation. And so, for example, in every part of daily life here in Italy, you might find a contract in one way or another when you're trying to accomplish certain tasks. Let's start with something that's a little bit on the bigger side, trying to get residency here in Italy. To establish residency here in Italy, you first need to have a place that you can register as your domicile, the place where you will be living. And the way that you can show where you're living is either through a hosting letter, which is not exactly a contract, but it is something stating from either your host, family, or friend that they will be hosting you in their place. But more often, if you're trying to get an apartment, you'll need a rental contract. But before you can get the rental contract, very often landlords want to see a work contract. And to get the work contract, very often employers want to see a permesso di soggiorno, if you're not an Italian citizen. So it's layer on layer on layer on layer, and you kind of need one to get the other. And it's just this circle that keeps going around, and it's just about trying to get in there just in the right place at the right time so that you can start moving forward. Because to get A, you need B, but to get C, you need A, but to get B, you need to get A. It just keeps going round and round and round and round. And I get messages from people asking, how do I get this if I need this first, but to get this, I need the first piece? Unfortunately, this is just one of those things, and it's just a matter of luck in some cases. In a lot of cases, actually. But then even taking it one step further beyond residency, if you want to get healthcare, if you want to be signed up on the public healthcare system here in Italy, they want to see your residency. Not necessarily the final confirmation of residency once you get after the police have come to check that you're living where you're saying you're living. They want to see the letter first. So firstly, to get that, you need to have all of those other contracts first, plus once you're signing up for the healthcare, that's another contract on top of everything. But then on top of that contract, you sign a privacy contract that says that you're okay with them holding onto your information and the sharing and not sharing and storage of that information. And it's contracts on top of contracts on top of contracts on top of contracts. And this is almost a similar thing when you're signing up for phone services here in Italy. Although you don't need a work contract to get a phone contract. It's a different thing, but it's a contract nonetheless. And okay, contracts do exist in other parts of the world in different places, but what I've found is that for every little thing, contracts are much more common. You do also have pay-as-you-go plans in Italy, but even there's a contract that surrounds that too. But if you want to get a phone on a contract, you'll need to first have a bank account. And very often, banks, when you're trying to open up a bank account, will want to see a work contract. If you don't have one, it is possible to get a bank account without a work contract. I know that's what I did, but they will still ask you for one. And then when you're signing up for the bank, you have all of the different contracts and agreements and papers that you have to sign that you would normally sign. But of course, in Italy, there are many, many more extras. It depends on the bank. For each bank, it's for sure going to be many, many, many times that you'll have to sign your name and re-sign and sign again, date your name, sign again, date, sign and date. It just keeps going on and on. But then when we're talking about work contracts, even if you're doing a short-term little tiny bit of work that's only for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and if you're an English teacher, for example, and you're just teaching a few hours over the course of a month, even if it's just 4 classes for that whole month, if it's a legal job, that you will have a contract for that short period of time. There are schools that do work without contracts and go around the system, but that's a different topic for a different day. And back in the States, to have a contract for such a small amount of work, this is not common. But if you make this commitment and you sign this contract, even for a very short period of time, you better keep up your part of the bargain. If there are any problems and if your employer can't work with you or you have to break the contract, there may be consequences for that. It depends on the contract and it depends on the type of work. But even if you sign a contract for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, more, you better be sure that you want to be there and that if it's the type of job where you're not so sure that you're going to really be able to commit to them for that amount of time, you should be very careful with knowing about how you can exit from that job without getting in any kind of legal trouble. Also in Italy, because credit scores don't exist, what a lot of banks and businesses and other companies that can give loans or financing will do is that if you have your job contract, that's basically your line of credit. And if anything happens, they go directly to your boss, they go directly to the financial department, and they'll start taking directly out of your paycheck in some cases. But even for the financing that I was looking at this week, just as an example, they wanted to actually have a copy of the work contract to know exactly how much you earn per month, when you receive it, how you receive it, how many hours you work, what type of work it is, like all of the details, like in very, very serious detail. And on top of that, they want to know that your contract will last at least for the duration of the financing or the loan, whatever. And so if you don't have that, then there's no way to make that happen otherwise. Even if you come in with bank statements showing that you have X amount of income, even though you don't have a contract, they don't care about that. They don't care about that at all. They want to know you have a work contract. That's why I've mentioned in previous videos that if you have a government job and a contract with that, a lifelong contract, and that's not so uncommon in Italy to have a lifelong contract, that is absolutely golden. To buy a house, to buy anything, or to get any kind of insurance, it's going to make a lot of your life so much easier. Coming from the American mentality where your credit score is good enough to cover at least a lot of what we're talking about here, that's what vouches for you and how you can function financially. Whereas here, without a contract, a lot of people don't feel as though that there is any kind of security or trust that can be had. So coming from that American perspective, again, this is something completely different, something completely out of left field. Like I've said so many times before, Italy has the pizza, the Pasta Amore, by the way, shirts are available, links down below. Italy has all these great things, but there is more to the country than just the beauty of the country. There is the practical side to living in this wonderful country as well. And that can be difficult for some people sometimes to get used to, because the system here is not just different, but it functions on, you could even say, like a different form of logic. It's a completely different mentality, and the way that things are approached comes from a very different direction than what people in North America and many other parts of the world are used to. So again, this video is not about how to accomplish something. This video is kind of more just, this is what's here. Just something to be aware of, and this is not even a rant. This is just, welcome to Italy. Benvenuto in Italia. It's more of a discussion. So, with the idea of it being a discussion, if you have anything to add, or if you have any questions or anything, any questions about any subject, feel free to leave that down in the comment section below, and who knows, maybe it might become a future video idea. Or at the very least, maybe we'll have an interesting conversation. Also, one question to you guys. For those of you who have been to Italy, have lived here, visited here, anything, what are some of the differences that you've noticed with mentalities towards things, different ways of functioning in the business world, different ways of functioning in the financial world? What are some of those differences that you've seen? But anyway, if you would like to see more content like this about moving to Italy, Italian dual citizenship, and living life abroad, please be sure to subscribe with that notification bell turned on. And if you could also give this video a like, I would really appreciate it, as it does help out the channel. And also, if you would like to help me make more videos like this possible, please consider visiting rafaeldifuria.com/support to help make more videos like this possible. And for those of you who want to help make videos like this possible on a monthly basis, you can go to rafaeldifuria.com/Patreon. Thank you so much to those of you who are helping to make videos like this possible through Patreon, and thank you so much those of you who have come out and shown your support and helped to make a new computer possible. It's something I'm still working towards, and thank you so much to those of you who've helped to make that finish line come a little bit closer. Anyway, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for joining me again on another beautiful Friday night. I'm Rafael Di Furia, aka Rafi D is me, and I'll see you all next Friday. Later.